Yeah, so it's very strange to be detransitioning under such duress. It's duress as opposed to it because it was always used. It's always going to be used as someone's aha. I was watching Sean Head the other day. Gotcha accounts. There were just people who were like, haha, gotcha, I tricked you. I've turned the tables on you. I've done this, and I've tripped you up, and I've got you in the middle of something, and it's disingenuous. But that's what kind of those people do. That's what narcissists do, especially when you think about what narcissists actually are. Um, they always want to try and one up you, because you're the standard, you're the gold standard for them, basically. Whether they like to admit it or not, the whole reason they want to one up you is because they know that you're better than them on whatever levels that they think that you're better. They want to prove. So if they want, they try and trip you up intellectually, so you get into troll wars and stuff like that. And a lot of it is just tedium, like uh, pedantry knows no tedium. So these people can go for hours and hours and hours. Um, I want, and I will probably do the same. Um, but yeah, I was just looking at my vids, and about 8 months ago, it was like 8 months ago, I'd was in a party, and so it's like not even eight, not it's not even less than a year. Um, yeah, it's just been one abuse after the other abuse after the other abuse after the other abuse, and when I finally find myself in somewhere safe, um, my mind reverts back to this kind of thinking of trying to make sense of what's going on, um, why what's going on is going on. Um, I've been thinking a lot about my mother, um, specifically her mental health over the years, um, which she blames me for, um, and blaming is one of the reasons why her illness became so toxic. Um, and she's a classic narcissist because she can never admit fault. She was never wrong about anything, and it was always blaming me. So, and yet, like I say, I was the only person in her life, so I must have been the only person that was. Uh, um, but the truth of it is just seeing someone you love being abused and nothing you can do about it whilst being abused yourself is the cycle of hatred that we kind of fell into. And it wasn't a cycle of love, it was a cycle of hatred, ending in a lot of abuse, physical. She called the police on me, but I suppose a lot of times, and had me arrested a lot of times. I suppose I took the higher ground in that sense, and even when she did abuse me, the one time the police were called and they did find bruises on me, they did want me to press charges, and I said no. The other times, I just never called the police. But when I think about as well how altercations like that have always gone down with the police, where I've said that person's assaulted me, and they've gone, well, there's nothing we can do about it, as opposed to someone just making an abstract claim against me and then me ending up in the police cells. Um, to say it's one-sided is, to say the least. Uh, you are genuinely oppressed when somebody out of nowhere can just proclaim something out of the blue and have you arrested and sent to jail and have your life ruined, because prison is no joke. and end up in prison based on the lie, with no evidence. And yet when the roles are reversed and there is evidence and there is witnesses and there is this, and you say, that person did that thing, and they don't know, oh well, there's nothing we can do about it, then you realize, oh, for fuck's sake, like, they really are against me. So having that kind of level of abuse against you, as an individual is really bad. So collectively, at least, on some level, you can understand the divisions between the political systems and parties and things like that. And yet, there I was, kind of trying to do some good work, I suppose, in the sense of just trying to sort of say to people, like, I'm trying to get rid of the stigma of mental health, trying to get rid of the stigma of being trans, being gay, those kinds of things, and just kind of go, hey people, you can do what you want, just like don't harm anybody, and yet ending up being the one that's abused as well as being an abuser myself. The irony is lost. And the seriousness of the situation is, I was pushed to that point. And yeah, there's that point where you realize, your life is in tatters, is a complete mess, but there's nothing you can do about it. And then people politically want to say, that's because you're trans. There you go, you see, that's what you get. You better start praising Jesus now. Which is basically, hallelujah, amen, amen, amen. Yeah, as opposed to sort of saying, oh, well, that's something that happened that shouldn't have happened in the first place. We're going to help you out of this situation. And being in that situation, when you realize the kind of social ostracization that went against, I'm trying to include my mother into this, because they surrounded both of us and isolated us both, and so the division was between me and her. They put mother and son, mother and child, against each other, and the outcome was devastating, because she's powerful, I'm powerful, and we tore each other to pieces. And that's exactly what they wanted. No matter how many times I told her this is what they're doing, she kept on falling into their trap. So did I as well, because the trap was already sprung years ago, years and years ago. My attempt to shine a light on the situation and bring some kind of catharsis completely failed, and then with the smear campaign, just completely buried. So, yeah, I'm basically at that point now. So, there's a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, with no focus. And it's like, well, what do you do with that kind of madness, basically? So